We have to do it and do it some more and then again. And even when we think we got this, we will slip up and our minds will race and we'll be frenetic in our reactive moments. Being kind and compassionate to yourself will allow you to be more open to your capacity to get better at this practice, with a more mindful approach to your practice, and allow you to be aware of when those moments pass you by. My name is Michael Shikatano, and this is Right Here, Right Now, a podcast to inspire the learner inside each of us. In a world that is full of so much information, we will help find and package that information so that you can use it in your lives every day in practical ways. And in each episode, we will remind you of the importance of being present and mindful of your daily thoughts, actions, and interactions. It is truly the most vital step to learning and growth, being mindful and present right here, right now, to take on life's challenges and turn them into life's lessons. So come on this venture with us, a new beginning, a new journey that starts right here, right now. Welcome back, people. I am Michael Shikatano, your host of Right Here, Right Now, the podcast that calls upon us to live a more mindfully present existence in the busy and sometimes turbulent world we live in. The podcast that allows each of us, including me, to get a little more curious about what each of the moments of our life has to offer us. The podcast that started out with the intention that we can each manifest a more present and mindful demeanor with a more mindfully present approach as we yearn to experience and cultivate more meaning in our life. The podcast that will revisit and remind and reconsider what this mindfulness practice is all about, what benefits it may have to offer us, how to practice this more, and how to be more mindfully present about our mindfulness practice. Whoa, huh? Some deep stuff here, people, that we'll be talking about, and who couldn't use a reminder? Or perhaps the timing of this episode finds you in a better place to be more open to this practice when we talk about it again. And the first suggestion or gentle nudge here, people, when we talk about how mindfulness can be a nice approach, a better approach for us in our lives, is simply this. Be kind to yourself. Seriously, people, this practice is not easy. There's no magic potion here, no magic formula for getting this right. Every situation in each of our lives, from day to day, moment to moment, will call for a different type of strength and presence to be able to cultivate the mindfulness that we need in that very moment. We will slip up and we will not be able to employ a mindful approach in every instance. But being aware of this will help us to learn and grow and be better mindfulness practitioners here, people. Remember, this is a practice. This is why we're doing another episode about this. And we're going to talk a lot more about what we need to do, some of the benefits of mindfulness. We just have to remember it's a practice. We keep doing it. There really is no end in sight. That's why I'm reminding you to be kind to yourself with some self-love and self-compassion here, people. We have to do it and do it some more and then again. And even when we think we got this, we will slip up and our minds will race and we'll be frenetic in our reactive moments. Being kind and compassionate to yourself will allow you to be more open to your capacity to get better at this practice, with a more mindful approach to your practice, and allow you to be aware of when those moments pass you by, or when you and your busy and harried mind have bypassed those moments. I like to think that in every moment there is an opportunity to be a little more present and mindful of our inner thoughts and our inner emotions and how we are interacting with the outer world. So again, we'll dive into the practice of mindfulness. And I really love the title of the episode and the theme of this episode, right? This mindfulness in motion, cultivating presence in everyday life. It got creative as I was thinking about just what we really need to think about in this episode, that we must attempt to nourish the system of our minds in order to cultivate the mindfulness approach in our busy lives, right? This mindfulness in motion where we can learn to slow down and settle into the stillness that we can create with this practice. And being mindful does not mean that we're sitting crisscross applesauce on a mat with soft music playing while attempting to block out the rest of the world. This practice, I have found, many have found, is best practiced when we carry it over into the busyness of our lives, as we settle the busyness of our minds. This is where we will see its greatest benefits. But just so you are aware, that habit of sitting with the intention to practice a mindful meditation, being accepting of your thoughts with no judgment, is absolutely where this practice begins for each of us. It's where it began for me. And it took some time to notice the carryover from the meditative experience to the practical everyday experience of living more mindfully. The intention of today's episode is to take the leap from the proverbial cushion to the real world, where we can employ the practice of mindfulness as we keep up and keep pace with our busy and bustling lives. So let's kick this episode off and dive into the mindfulness concept and the mindfulness approach to our lives with a quote. Of course, with a quote. And this quote has not really been credited to anyone, but is profound in allowing us to settle into the science and practicality of our mindful approach in life. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. But today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. So let's think of this as we sometimes find ourselves ruminating and worrying about anything and everything, but this very moment, which is all that we really ever have, right? According to Eckhart Tolle. So let's work on this practice. Let's be kind to ourselves as we put in the work so that we may not miss out on the beauty of the present that is gifted to us in each moment of our lives. All right, let's get a little granular here. Bear with me. Let's come up with maybe a working definition of mindfulness. So many different definitions out there. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about where the practice originates from. So mindfulness is a mental practice rooted in ancient Eastern philosophy, particularly in Buddhism, and it has gained popularity in the West over the last few decades. At its core, mindfulness involves paying focused, non-judgmental attention to the present moment, right here, right now. And we're going to review some of its core principles, right? Paying attention to present moment experience without conceptual elaboration or emotional reactivity is another way we can define this practice of mindfulness. So its core principles that we're going to go over, the first one is that present moment awareness. Mindfulness emphasizes being fully present in the here and now, rather than dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, right? Those things do not serve us really any purpose. It involves directing your attention to your current experiences, sensations, and thoughts, and being okay with the emotions that may be evoked by those experiences, sensations, and thoughts. This next core principle is critical here, people, being non-judgmental, right? Wow. And it is more difficult than we can imagine in the frenzied pace that our lives seem to take on. In the busy and ruminative minds that can sometimes try to rule our thoughts and emotions and moods, mindfulness encourages observing your thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment. This means accepting whatever arises in your awareness with kindness and without trying to label them as good or bad. And it reminds me of one of my favorite quotes, and it's from Shakespeare in his play Hamlet. Why then 'tis none to you? For there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And so many in our world are so judgmental of everything and everyone else in this world. Be kinder and gentle to yourself here, people. Less judgment, far greater love. And the next principle is this observation of thoughts, right? It involves acknowledging and observing your thoughts as they arise, recognizing that they are transient mental events rather than absolute truths. And this helps create distance from negative or overwhelming thoughts, as well as a distance from the positive thoughts as well. So thinking of this in terms of the impermanence of all things, right? These thoughts are fleeting, especially that these thoughts, they seem to stay with us wherever we go, right? My goodness. It may help to actually say to yourself that I am feeling anxious, or fill in the blank there, rather than saying I am anxious. Maybe semantics, but if you couple it with this non-judgmental approach, being an objective observer of your thoughts, I think it's going to help a little bit here. The next core principle is body awareness, right? And mindfulness often includes paying attention to bodily sensations, including your posture, tension, physical discomfort, as these can offer insights into your emotional and mental states. And some proclaim that our body can often drive how we feel in our mind and in our hearts. The physical sensations that may manifest before we're even consciously aware of the thoughts that may be troubling us. Sometimes I feel a tightness or a tension. A lot of times it starts in the shoulder, goes up into the neck. Maybe the jaw gets really tight. And what I have found to be very helpful is to just breathe deeply, deliberately into the tightness, like into the tightness, and slowly let that breath out as you feel the tension melt away. You can try this a few times. Whatever that discomfort, that bodily discomfort, the physical discomfort that you feel that might be telling you something else is wrong. At the very least, it will slow you down and make you aware of that tension. These bodily sensations are trying to tell you something. Listen to your body here. Oh, acceptance. Mindfulness, it promotes the acceptance of what is. And this perhaps reminds us of the concept of amor fati, right? The love or our fate. And this is the ultimate goal of not being judgmental here. This involves recognizing that the present moment is as it is, and resistance or denial of reality can lead to suffering. Often we get caught up in what we may think we are in control of, and too often we think we are in control of things that are happening to us, and know that we're in control of how we respond. And accepting or perhaps even surrendering is what allows us to mindfully move on. So those are the core principles, and I think these are great reminders of how we can use mindfulness, how to use mindfulness, and some of the ways that we can approach each of the moments in our lives I think we'll get a better experience, and we'll talk a little bit about now the origins, where it kind of came from, and then we'll talk a little bit about benefits of this mindfulness practice. So mindfulness finds its roots in Buddhism, right? It was originally developed as a spiritual practice more than 2,500 years ago by Siddhartha Gautama, and most of you know him as the Buddha. And mindfulness was an essential element of the Buddha's path to enlightenment and freedom from suffering. And don't get too caught up in the prospect of enlightenment here, people. The moment-to-moment practice is the journey that you should focus on. And notice how these mindful moments allow you to be more in control of your emotions and thoughts and actions. And this will lead to less suffering. In the 20th century, mindfulness was introduced to the West primarily through the efforts of Buddhist teachers and scholars. And notable figures like Thich Nhat Hanh and John Kabat-Zinn played significant roles in translating and adapting mindfulness practices for a secular audience. And mindfulness-based interventions such as mindfulness-based stress reduction and mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, they were developed in the late 20th century. And these programs integrated mindfulness practices with Western psychological techniques and have been used to address various mental health issues. And I think one of the greatest mental disorders, or the struggles that a lot of people, probably the most common mental disorder that we know of, anxiety, I think mindfulness can absolutely help with the anxious feelings, the ruminative thoughts, the worry, the fear that so many of us battle with day to day, moment to moment. And some of us, it's disabling at some times. And I think this mindfulness-based approach here, it can be profoundly impactful on our mental health. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And over the past few decades, it has gained widespread recognition and acceptance in our society. It's been embraced by healthcare professionals, educators, corporations even, for its potential to reduce stress, improve mental health, and enhance overall well-being. And maybe let's explore why the practice of mindfulness has become more popular, right? We can consider this super distracting existence that we all live, connected all the time, working all the time, never unplugging, or worse, feeling like we just can't unplug for fear we may miss something, right? It's the root of our troubles in this world. Have we truly considered what it is that we're missing by trying not to miss anything in our life? Is the present moment. That's what we are missing. We're worried about what tomorrow may bring, ruminating on how yesterday should have played out, and we continually blast past the present moment. The good news is that we are collectively realizing that we must change our ways. Even more exciting is that there is a very wonderful bit of evidence, both scientific and anecdotal, that mindfulness has many benefits to combat the hurried and harried minds that we drag on our shoulders through the whirlwind of life. And the 17th century philosopher Blaise Pascal is quoted, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." We not only lack the stillness required for self-reflection and contemplation of our present feelings and emotions, but worse, we may not be aware of the benefits of carrying this stillness and mindfulness around with us. And he suggests we may fear this level of solitude. And I think this quote and this concept deserves plenty more attention, maybe in an upcoming episode. I really like it. And I think there are some Stoic principles that can go and be well aligned with it. But for now, let's be reminded that solitude is not the same thing as just merely being alone. I like to think of solitude as being alone with the purpose. the intention to be alone with your thoughts and to reflect. So, in essence, Pascal's quote emphasizes the importance of finding moments of stillness and introspection in a fast-paced and constantly connected world. So let's review and get a little more detailed about the benefits that we may realize over time of this wonderful practice of mindfulness. And topping the list is what many people, I think, they start out coming out looking for in this new world of the practice of being more mindful, and that's to reduce stress. And there's been numerous scientific studies that have shown that regular mindfulness practice can reduce stress levels by promoting relaxation and regulating our body's stress response. That stress response is enormous, right? We're not going to really reduce stress. The fact is that it's there, and there's even stress on the positive side, good things that are happening to us that are stressors in our life. And I've experienced this firsthand here, people, in so much what I've endured and experienced since the practice has gifted me with being more mindful and present. My response to stress has been profoundly impacted by this practice. It comes from the awareness of what we are experiencing in the moment, coupled with the realization, the sometimes difficult to comprehend notion that becoming emotionally reactive in response to stress serves very little purpose. And we must turn to the awareness that we must take deliberate and constructive action to respond to stressors in our life. And sometimes the response that is most appropriate is to just understand that we have no control of certain circumstances, and that letting our emotions control us serves no purpose for all involved. Next up is so important as the world we live in continues to produce situations that cause us to have a torrent of negative emotions and an inability to cope or endure or persevere through so many of life's challenges. Mindfulness can at least help us on our path to improved mental health. And disclaimer here, people, right? This practice is absolutely no substitute for seeking the services of a mental health professional when you need one. This practice serves as an excellent adjunct to professional help and is often a recommended practice to assist in being okay when you're not okay. Mindfulness has been associated with reduced symptoms of anxiety and depression. And mindfulness-based interventions, as we talked about earlier, are now commonly used in clinical psychology to treat these conditions. And an important reminder again here, people, be kind to yourself on your journey, and don't be afraid or embarrassed or ashamed to seek professional help when you need it. Listen to your loved ones. They know. They'll tell you. And there's also evidence to demonstrate that this practice has the capacity for enhanced focus and attention. And who couldn't use a bit more of these tools to be sharper as we tackle life, right? And in reading the work of Amishi Jha a few years ago in her masterpiece, Peak Mind, and this is the first experience I had with any sort of mindful meditative practice. When I was learning in this book what it's all about, how it can help with focus and attention, I never realized the profound effect it would have on so many other aspects of my life. And I was hooked with the impact that the simple, not easy, steps to the practice had on me. Regular mindfulness practice can improve concentration, attention span, and cognitive function. And this has practical applications in education, the workplace, and our relationships, especially as we age, when some of these traits suffer and begin to decline if left to wither without a practice to build the mindfulness habits. And mindfulness practice allows us to flex our cognitive muscles to be sharper and more adept at our focus and attention. Every part of your existence will improve if your focus and intention improves, especially regarding the fact that we will experience our lives more fully when we're able to pay attention and focus on the here and now. Amishi Jha says you're missing about half of your life when you're not living a mindful and present life. Memories are more vivid, experiences are more enjoyable when we savor the moment and the people present in our moments. And this next benefit is related a little bit to stress reduction and mental health improvements, and that is the capacity to better regulate our emotions. Mindfulness helps individuals become more aware of our emotional states and helps us to develop healthier ways to respond to challenging emotions, leading to better emotional regulation. And I believe that it also helps us to be more aware of and in tune with the emotions of others. Not that we can control these emotions, but rather just the awareness that we are all emotional beings and that we have the capacity, when we are mindfully present, to take the perspective of others and how they may be reacting to life's challenges or joys in their moments in life. And if we become good practitioners and experience just some of these benefits through our practice, it stands to reason that our overall well-being can be enhanced. Studies suggest that mindfulness can increase overall life satisfaction and happiness. It promotes a positive outlook on life. And some of the anecdotal benefits here, there are a lot of people that report profound changes in their lives after adopting mindfulness practices. I can truly attest to that. The mindfulness practice, and I see that there's a nice cycle to this. You see the results, you get better at it because you want to work more at it, and people describe a greater self-awareness, improved capacity to endure through tough times, I mean some really tough times, and a heightened sense of purpose. For me, the greatest feeling is a profound sense of calm through some very tough moments in my life. And the reinforcement that the calmness and being grounded allows you to be better equipped to handle life's next challenge. They're coming. Every one of those challenges are coming, right? Amar Fati, we love our fate. We just know the challenges that we'll face will continue to come. Being mindful and present right here, right now, is what will allow us to endure and actually be better than before. And really, I think that these benefits, they underscore the transformative power of mindfulness in promoting mental and emotional well-being and enhancing our quality of life. So I'm glad you tuned in here, people. I hope you were mindfully present in every one of the moments that we shared right here, right now, to learn a little bit more or to remind ourselves a little bit more about how mindfulness can help us in each of our moments. Be present, be mindful, right here, right now. Thank you all for listening. Please share this episode and don't forget to rate the show. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time, right here, right now.